Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to explore one of the most fascinating stories in the Bible, the life of Rebekah. Have you ever wondered how one person's choices can change everything? How faith and courage can shape the future of entire nations? That's exactly what we see in Rebekah's incredible journey. Rebekah wasn't just any ordinary woman. She was chosen by God to play a major role in His plan for humanity. Her story is filled with love, faith, difficult choices, and yes, even some controversy. But through it all, we see how God works through people who trust Him even when the path ahead isn't clear. From a young woman drawing water at a well to becoming the mother of nations, Rebekah's life teaches us powerful lessons about faith, determination, and trusting God's plan. So let's dive into her amazing story together. Our story begins with Abraham, who was getting very old. He had one major concern on his mind, finding the right wife for his son Isaac. You see, this wasn't just about finding any wife. Abraham knew that God had made special promises to his family, and these promises needed to continue through Isaac. Abraham was very specific about what he wanted. He told his most trusted servant, "I don't want you to find a wife for Isaac from the people living around us. These people don't worship our God. Instead, go back to my hometown and find a wife from my own relatives." Why was this so important? Abraham understood that marrying someone who shared their faith in God was crucial. The people living nearby worshipped idols and lived in ways that went against God's commands. Abraham wanted to make sure that Isaac's wife would help carry on their faith and values. So the servant set out on this important mission. But how would he know which woman was the right one? This is where we see something beautiful. The servant prayed to God for guidance. He asked God to give him a clear sign so he wouldn't make a mistake. The servant's prayer was very specific. He said, "God, when I ask a young woman for a drink of water, if she not only gives me water but also offers to water my camels, then I'll know she's the one you've chosen for Isaac." This might seem like a simple test, but it was actually very smart. Watering camels after a long journey was hard work. One camel could drink up to 25 gallons of water. So if a woman was willing to do this extra work for a stranger, it would show she was kind, generous, and hardworking, exactly the qualities needed for Isaac's wife. And then something amazing happened. Just as the servant finished praying, a beautiful young woman came to the well with a water jar on her shoulder. Her name was Rebekah, and she was the granddaughter of Abraham's brother. When the servant asked her for a drink, Rebekah's response was incredible. She quickly gave him water and then said, "Let me also get water for your camels until they've had enough to drink." Without being asked, she went above and beyond to help this stranger. Think about this for a moment. Rebekah didn't know who this man was or why he was there. She could have just given him water and walked away. But instead, she chose to do much more than what was asked. She worked hard, running back and forth to the well, carrying heavy jars of water until all the camels were satisfied. This simple act revealed so much about Rebekah's character. She was kind, generous, hardworking, and had a servant's heart. These weren't just nice qualities, they were exactly what was needed for the wife of Isaac and the future mother of God's chosen people. The servant was amazed. He immediately knew that God had answered his prayer in the most perfect way. He bowed down and thanked God, saying, "Praise be to the Lord, who has led me straight to the right place." Rebekah's actions at the well weren't just coincidence, they were God's way of showing that she was his choice for Isaac. Her willingness to serve others generously would be crucial in the role she was about to take on. When the servant explained why he had come and asked if Rebekah would come with him to marry Isaac, something remarkable happened. After discussing it with her family, they asked Rebekah directly, "Will you go with this man?" Her answer was simple but powerful, "I will go." Just think about what this meant. In those days, leaving your family and homeland was a huge decision, especially for a young woman. Rebekah would be traveling to a foreign land to marry a man she had never met. She would leave behind everything. Familiar, her parents, her friends, her home, her culture. But Rebekah said yes. Why? Because she had faith. She trusted that God was leading her life and that this was His plan for her. Her decision reminds us of Abraham's own journey when God called him to leave his homeland and go to a new place. Before she left, her family gave her a beautiful blessing. "May you become the mother of thousands and thousands. May your children take over the cities of their enemies." This blessing showed that they understood Rebekah was stepping into something much bigger than just a marriage. She was becoming part of God's plan to bless the whole world. Rebekah's willingness to trust God and step into the unknown teaches us about faith. Sometimes God calls us to do things that seem scary or uncertain, but when we trust Him and say, "I will go," amazing things can happen. When Rebekah finally reached her destination, she met Isaac in the most beautiful way. Isaac was out in the field praying when he saw the caravan coming. When Rebekah saw Isaac, she covered herself with her veil, showing respect and modesty. The servant told Isaac everything that had happened, how he had prayed, how God had led him to Rebekah, and how she had shown such kindness at the well. Isaac then brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent and married her. The Bible tells us something very special. Isaac loved her, and he was comforted after his mother's death. This shows us that their marriage wasn't just an arrangement, it was filled with real love and affection. By bringing Rebekah into Sarah's tent, Isaac was showing that she was now the new matriarch of the family. She was taking on Sarah's role as the main woman in the household and the one who would help guide the family's future. This marriage was blessed by God and built on love, respect, and shared faith. Isaac and Rebekah's relationship became a model of what a godly marriage should look like. For 20 long years, Rebekah was unable to have children. In those days, not having children was not just disappointing, it was often seen as shameful. Women were expected to have children, and when they couldn't, they often felt like failures, but Isaac's response to this situation was beautiful. Instead of getting angry or giving up, he prayed to God for his wife. The Bible says Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Isaac's prayer shows us several important things. First, he truly loved Rebekah and wanted the best for her. Second, he had faith that God could do what seemed impossible. Third, he remembered God's promises to his family and believed they would be fulfilled, and God answered Isaac's prayer. After 20 years of waiting, Rebekah finally became pregnant. But this pregnancy was different from what they expected. She was carrying twins. The pregnancy was difficult. The babies seemed to be fighting inside her womb, which caused Rebekah great discomfort and worry. Confused about what was happening, she did what any person of faith would do. She asked God for answers. When Rebekah inquired of the Lord about her difficult pregnancy, God gave her an amazing prophecy that would shape the future of her family and the entire world. God told her, "2 nations are in your womb. 2 peoples will be separated from within you. 1 people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." This prophecy was shocking because it went against everything people expected in those days. Usually, the oldest son was the most important. He would inherit his father's wealth, become the leader of the family, and receive the special blessing. But God was saying that in Rebekah's case, it would be different. The younger son would be more important than the older one. This prophecy also told Rebekah that her sons would become the fathers of 2 different nations, and these nations would often be in conflict with each other. The struggle she felt in her womb was a sign of the struggles that would come between her children and their descendants. God's prophecy reminds us that His ways are not like our ways. He doesn't always choose who we think He should choose. Sometimes He picks the younger over the older, the weak over the strong, or the unlikely over the obvious choice. When the time came for Rebekah to give birth, the twins were as different as could be. The first baby to be born was red and very hairy, so they named him Esau, which means hairy. Right behind him came his brother, holding onto Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob, which means heel grabber or one who follows. From the very beginning, these boys were completely different. Esau grew up to love the outdoors. He became a skilled hunter who spent his time in the fields and forests. He was rugged, strong, and loved adventure. Jacob, on the other hand, was quieter and preferred to stay around the tents. He was more thoughtful and careful in his approach to life. The differences between the brothers also showed up in their relationships with their parents. Isaac loved Esau more because he enjoyed the wild game that Esau would hunt and bring home. But Rebekah loved Jacob more. This favoritism would later cause serious problems in the family. The fact that Rebekah favored Jacob might seem strange, but remember the prophecy God had given her. God had said that the older would serve the younger, so Rebekah may have seen her love for Jacob as being in line with God's plan. However, the favoritism shown by both parents created an unhealthy family dynamic. When parents love one child more than another, it always leads to problems, jealousy, and conflict. As Isaac grew old and his eyesight became very poor, he decided it was time to give his special blessing to his oldest son, Esau. This blessing was very important. It would make Esau the leader of the family and the heir to all of God's promises. Isaac told Esau to go hunting and prepare his favorite meal, and then he would give him the blessing. But Rebekah overheard this conversation, and she knew she had to act quickly. She remembered God's prophecy that the older would serve the younger, and she was determined to make sure it came true. Rebekah came up with a plan to trick Isaac into blessing Jacob instead of Esau. She told Jacob to bring her 2 young goats so she could prepare Isaac's favorite meal. Then she dressed Jacob in Esau's clothes and covered his smooth arms and neck with goat skins so he would feel hairy like his brother. Jacob was worried about the plan. He said, "What if my father touches me and realizes I'm not Esau? Then he'll curse me instead of blessing me." But Rebekah was so determined that she said, "Let any curse fall on me, my son. Just do what I say." So Jacob went to his father, pretending to be Esau. Isaac was suspicious because Jacob's voice didn't sound like Esau's, but when he felt the goat skins on Jacob's arms and smelled Esau's clothes, he was convinced. Isaac then gave Jacob a powerful blessing. "May God give you plenty of rain and good soil, and may you have lots of grain and wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. May you rule over your brothers, and may those who curse you be cursed and those who bless you be blessed." When Esau returned from hunting and discovered that Jacob had stolen his blessing, he was heartbroken and furious. He cried out to his father, "Don't you have a blessing left for me too?" But Isaac explained that he had already given the main blessing to Jacob, and it couldn't be taken back. Esau was so angry that he planned to kill Jacob as soon as their father died. When Rebekah heard about Esau's plan, she knew she had to protect Jacob. She told him, "Your brother is planning to kill you. You need to run away to my brother Laban's house and stay there until Esau's anger cools down." So Jacob had to leave home and travel far away to escape his brother's anger. This separation was heartbreaking for the family. Rebekah sent away the son she loved most, knowing she might never see him again. The consequences of the deception were severe. The family was torn apart, brothers became enemies, and years of pain and separation followed. While God's prophecy was fulfilled, Jacob did receive the blessing instead of Esau. It came at a great cost to everyone involved. This part of the story teaches us that even when we're trying to do what we think is God's will, we need to be careful about how we do it. Rebekah believed she was helping God's plan come true, but her methods caused great harm to her family. Despite the controversy and pain that came from her actions, Rebekah's place in God's plan was crucial. Through Jacob, who was later renamed Israel, came the 12 tribes that became the nation of Israel. This was the people through whom God would eventually send Jesus Christ to save the world. Rebekah's life shows us that God can work through imperfect people to accomplish his perfect plans. She made mistakes and faced difficult situations, but her faith and determination played a key role in God's bigger story. From her generous service at the well to her bold decision to leave her homeland, from her 20 years of waiting for children to her controversial intervention in the blessing, Rebekah's life was marked by faith, courage, and a willingness to trust God even when the path was unclear. Her story reminds us that God's ways are higher than our ways. Sometimes His plans unfold in ways that surprise us or that we don't fully understand. But we can trust that He is always working for good, even in the midst of human mistakes and family conflicts. Rebekah's legacy lives on in every person who chooses to trust God's plan, even when it's difficult or uncertain. Her life encourages us to have faith, to be generous to others, and to trust that God is working in our lives, even when we can't see the full picture. The story of Rebekah is truly amazing, isn't it? From a young woman showing kindness at a well to becoming one of the most important mothers in the Bible, her journey shows us how God works through ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Rebekah's life teaches us so many valuable lessons. We learn about the importance of having a generous and serving heart, like she showed at the well. We see the power of faith when she said, "I will go," and left everything behind to follow God's plan. We understand how God can work even through our waiting periods, like during her 20 years of childlessness. And we see both the power and the complications that come when we try to help God's plans along, like with the blessing situation. Most importantly, Rebekah's story reminds us that God's plans are always bigger than what we can see. Even when things seem messy or unclear, God is working to bring about His good purposes. I hope Rebekah's story has encouraged and inspired you today. Her faith, courage, and determination show us what it looks like to trust God, even when the path ahead is uncertain. If you found this story meaningful and helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us know that these biblical stories are making a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos about other amazing people in the Bible. And please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear which part of Rebekah's story spoke to you the most, or if you have any questions about her life. Thank you so much for joining me today in exploring this incredible woman of faith. Until next time, may you be encouraged to trust God's plan for your life, just like Rebekah did. God bless you.